Hello and happy Thursday afternoon to our families of Nooksack Valley Middle School. Last night we did a presentation, PowerPoint presentation via Zoom to all of our families, and it was about 45 minutes long. I hope to capture everything I said in a 15-minute video for all of you that weren't able to attend. And so with that, it's time to speed talk, and you can always call the middle school if you have questions after the presentation. Last spring, we learned quite a bit about learning, and in our Teams format, we learned a lot about that. Some of the things that we learned, our students see things a lot different based on the computer that they're using. The organization by our teachers is very, very important when we're sending out information to our students. We really need to start small and then grow what we're doing with our students throughout this school year. We need to teach the tech and the daily lessons. That was something we missed because we didn't have our daily routines and a daily schedule last fall, and that daily schedule is very, very important. We also learned it can work well. Definitely works better for some students than others. Another key is consistency. We learned that students who were regularly engaged were the most successful. Students who had a daily routine, get on 9 o'clock, do my work, spend about 2 or 3 hours getting my work done, and then the rest of my day is free. I work Monday through Friday, I take the weekends off. Those were the students that we saw in the spring were most successful. If students could, they oftentimes skipped the tutorials. This proved to be costly because they had questions later on in the lessons that were covered in the tutorials. We also learned that students reported to their parents differently than the data we saw on Teams in terms of how much work they were doing, how much time they were spending, and the success of our students was dependent on staying up to date with their learning each and every week. One of the most difficult things is the formative assessment and intervention. We're going to be focused on mastery of our mathematic content, the reading, the writing. That'll be one of our key focuses as we move forward in the spring with our remote learning. Again, we do have goals set in place to get back to our regular learning as quickly as possible, yet that will all be controlled by the health department and their recommendations. We have found that live feedback needs to happen. Therefore, as we move forward, we will most definitely have a regular schedule, and I'll share that with you a little bit later. Feedback loop is important. If students can't be doing work real time and then showing it to their teachers, letting the teachers see, teachers giving feedback, we continue to practice something wrong throughout their learning for that day. So one of the key things that we need to do is we need to get that feedback loop to happen. For instance, you will get from your teacher a whiteboard for math, and they'll do their work on a whiteboard. Teachers will probably have them hold it up so the teacher can see the work, and then they'll give the students real-time feedback as they're working through the math. In language arts, we found that the notebook worked really well because our students could type, teachers can see, they can give kids feedback real time and in the moment. So we're going to do as much of that as we possibly can. Our instruction will be live with our teachers. We also hope to record those and make them live or make the students or enable students to go back and review at a later day if they want to review the instruction that's there. We have gone about planning is we started in June and July, and as we were planning, we started to look at how many students can we put in a classroom. Can we maintain the 6x6 grid that is required us? How about mass and social distances throughout our building? How do students start their morning, and what do our lunch routines look like? How many students can we teach while follow within the guidelines for reopening that the state has given us? We went through and have gone through and done all of that planning. We have all of that in place so that when we do go to a hybrid model and we get permission to go to a hybrid model, we can do that. The health department last week, Thursday, made the recommendation to all of our Whatcom County superintendents that they start remotely. They gave us a decision tree, which is something we were waiting for quite some time for in-person learning. We still ask the question, what does it look like in terms of can we start? And Mark Johnson, our superintendent, explored some different possibilities. And can we start with students? And we would be liable if we don't follow the Whatcom County Health Department's recommendation. And basically risk management. There's only 2 risk management that the schools in Washington State go through. Those, we had to follow that in order to reopen, or we would not have insurance and coverage. So he made a recommendation to our school board that we start remotely. The school board approved that, and now we are planning for a remote start to our school year, remote learning 2.0. And based on what we learned in the spring, we hope to be a lot better in our work with students. So our plan for Nooksack Valley at Home, it is going to be live teaching. We're going to take the effective habits, what we've learned about most effective teaching practices, and we're going to implement those in our live teaching lessons and in our remote learning. Our goals are going to make a personal connection with our kids. We know that at this age, middle school age, that relationships are key in terms of connections with our kids, getting them to grow, having them do the work. They don't want to work for a remote teacher that they don't know and they don't see. And so they will be put with the classroom teacher that they will have when they come back to school. They will be put with the class that they will have when they return to school. So we want them to start to build those relationships and begin to create a classroom culture right from the start. We want our students to develop quality habits. Again, what we learned in the spring is those students that had the quality habits of waking up, getting their work done, following through, they were the most successful. And so we want our students to get up in the morning, get ready for school, get prepared, sit down at the computer, maybe even get dressed for school, have their hair combed, ready to go. Those quality habits are habits that generally make our students successful when they get to life beyond school. We want those things to be built into what they're doing in our remote teaching. The live teaching enables feedback, and this is crucial for our learning, is that we can give live feedback to kids real time. And so we have a set schedule. We've had great ideas for teachers about what our schedule looks like. We've made some adjustments on the way as we've talked about some different things, but we will have our regular schedule for Nooksack Valley Middle School. Your students will be taught using the curriculum that they have when they come back to school. And our teachers will be making some modifications to that based on some of the limitations for online learning. But when they come back, we will know where your student is at. We will know what they need, and we will know our next steps based on all curriculum. So we're excited about that. Again, I said we'll have some whiteboards for our math classes. OneNote and the OneNote notebook that goes with Teams is very, very valuable for our language arts classrooms because they can see kids type and they can actually give feedback right in the Teams setting, which is very, very powerful. They can confer with students then as they're working with them. So we have a lot to be excited about. Our arts and PE classes, we've talked about, they've got ideas for what they want to do. They've researched some best practices. They've consulted with some professional organizations, and they have some great ideas about how we're going to do STEAM, art, music, band, and our PE classes. Possibility for our start to the school year and schedule. This is what we're proposing right now. From 7:15 to 8 o'clock, that will be teachers working their PLC, their morning plan time as they're getting ready for the day. 8 o'clock to 8:55 would be the student's first period class. And so for a 6th grade student, what that might look like is they may have Miss Wilson for math and science. And that math and science class would run from about 8 o'clock till halfway through second period, where at that time they would switch. In that second period, they would switch to Mrs. Vandermeulen for language arts and social studies, and that would be half a second, and the rest of third that they would have Mrs. Vandermeulen. And then fourth period, a sixth grader would have their elective class or their PE class. And so student might be on an A day, they might be in band, and then on a B day, they would be in PE. Day band, the day after that PE, and kind of rotate through their schedule in that manner. And then we look at, okay, what's the rest of our day? Our students have been on their computer for about 4 hours now over the course of the school day with some breaks built in there. Now let's take a look at what our afternoon looks like. At that time, our teachers will have office hours to confer with students. And then we will also be doing some needs-based small group support. So in the course of the morning, as we're given feedback and information and reteaching to our students, as we see needs arise, we're going to be pulling in some small groups of students in order to teach and instruct those small groups of students. If they're struggling with a concept, they need extra help, as they're doing their independent work, we will be able to meet the individual needs of our students. A few things that will be different in the fall to start from the spring is, in the spring, the state did not really give us a whole lot of leeway, permission in order to grade our students. And so we gave feedback along the way, but there wasn't an overall grade that went into the report card. And so as we start, there will be a lot more accountability. Students will be graded and assessed on grade level standards. Parents will receive feedback on how students are growing, what progress they make. Our standards are currently driven by college readiness. And so if your student is at a 3 or a 4, it means that they are ready for college or on track to be ready for college when they graduate high school. We will have regular assessments built in. This will gauge what we need to do with our students in the afternoon, who needs to come to the afternoon session, who's got it, and who can move forward in the afternoon. And if a student is staying caught up, they're staying on track, they might be done with their school day at noon. We're going to update Skyward weekly on a regular basis. We will be sending missing assignment reports or progress reports home. If your student isn't there, attendance phone call will go out in the morning. So for example, if you are at work, your child is supposed to be up and ready at 8 o'clock and working, and they don't show up to their class, attendance will be taken, and within 20 minutes you should receive a phone call that they're not up. So you can go ahead and call home and say, hey, get up, get online, your learning starts. Student supports we're going to try to build in is we are putting in creating some small groups for learning, and this is something that you as parents can do as well. We think kids need to be somewhat social, so if you have a family that you connect with regularly, it might be 2 8th grade students get together and they work on their work together, headphones on in their classroom with the teacher, but then on the breaks they can hang out and do some different things in terms of interacting with one another. We'll do small groups, lessons for struggling students. We have our meeting times with teachers, and then our SPED teachers and our pairs will be working with students on a daily basis. This is aligned. It is in the curriculum in your home. The teacher they have will be the person they have when the school year opens, when the school building opens to our students. We will be providing 5 days a week worth of instruction, 4 hours every day, and a bonus 2 hours for those students who are struggling, falling behind, or in some cases it might be meeting for acceleration. They will know who they will be in class with to start the school year. Those are all things we're excited about and ready to launch. We've got about a minute left, and this wraps up a lot of what I'm going to say, but I've got a couple last points. The last couple points is we do have an opportunity if your child would like to learn in a separate setting from Nooksack Valley Online or Nooksack Valley at Home. There is the option of Nooksack Valley Online, and we partner with Edgenuity for that. We will be sending a survey home next week, Tuesday, that allows us to collect final numbers. It's actually a registration, and we'll have a few key questions that we can do for programming. We have a new parent communication tool called EdLeo. Look for that in your inbox. And then Teams will be our student learning and student communication. Thank you very much.